Hi, my name is Kevin Kearney. I'm interested in public health and I'd like to discuss dementia. It's November 23rd, 2016. First, let me mention that dementia is a general term used to describe impaired mental states. A large majority of dementias are Alzheimer's disease cases. My grandfather had diabetes during his last years of his life, and he developed Alzheimer's. And while he was quite brilliant and highly educated, he pretty drastically developed Alzheimer's within a few years before he died. Part of this may have had to do with his diabetes and his immobility due to a broken hip. New research showing a relationship between educational attainment and Alzheimer's is being widely discussed, and I wanted to add my thoughts. Other dementias that are common are vascular dementia and mixed dementia. So Lewy body syndrome and Parkinson's are actually a very small segment of dementia incidence, which is a new thing to me. It's talked about a lot, but it's actually relatively uncommon. So NPR just came out with an interesting study by the University of Michigan on dementia. Study design was a retrospective cohort cross-sectioned at year 2000 through 2012. It affirmed that the rate at which older Americans are developing dementia is declining, and that's a very significant finding. Researchers say one reason for the improved outlook is an increase in education. This idea falls into what is called the cognitive reserve hypothesis, such that intellectual stimulation provides protection of brain health. It goes that the MRIs of patients with dementia pathologies, meaning what is considered dementia by looking at brain scans, actually vary in symptoms. Those who have a cognitive reserve, for whatever reason, tend to express these symptoms in less degrees. But I've also read that these folks also express more rapid declines in mental faculties, which I noticed with my grandfather. If it is true that the activity of education provides a way to provide a more diverse and connected neural network, it would make sense that the MRI scans can show pathology, but be expressed differently with different neural circuitry. I also learned in this research I did that there are biomarkers, T-tau and amyloid beta protein, that better predict advancement of dementia. These proteins work by accumulating in the brain that disrupts or damages neurological functioning. Those with 16 years of education in this study showed smaller increases in T-tau, the biomarker. In fact, there was a huge difference between those with less education versus college degree. These numbers are 272 nanograms per liter of this protein versus 70. So that's much more than double the amount of this T-tau in lower educated people. That's interesting. Another study suggests that cognitive reserve and Alzheimer's disease biomarkers are actually independent determinants of cognition. What the heck is going on there? And another study shows that the diversity of dementias was linked to differences in tau protein aggregation. That's pretty astounding, that you can actually understand the different kinds of dementias by the way that the protein is aggregating in the brain. And there were other factors in the study, including a better control of cardiovascular risk factors and social, behavior, and medical factors contributing to this improvement, but it's still uncertain. And I would contribute that the diet and exercise are very predominant factors at play here as well. But what the headlines are saying is that there might be a relationship between educational attainment and brain health. In the study, there was a reduction in 11.6 to 8.8% that had dementia. And these were for those that are older than 65 from the years 2000 to 2012. That's a significant reduction in those with dementia. So at that rate, over 1 million people don't have dementia that would have been expected at that 2000 rate of dementia. And this makes sense, and I could trust the result. The compared The comparison in the reduction of dementia in the U.S. to the average amount of education increased from 11.8 years to 12.7 years. I would ask, is this an increase in education attainment really explanatory? Or are there other lurking variables like cardiovascular, social, behavioral, and medical factors that I discussed? A clear idea that I need to question is whether an increase in 1 year of education would make a significant impact to over 1 million people in reducing their risk of dementia. I did find that one other study that showed that for each additional year of education, there is an 11% decrease in the risk of developing dementia. To some extent, I'm still thinking that it might be those with more education that tend to be engaged in more activities that could be stimulating, and might be a characteristic of educated people, but is this really even true? Is there something to higher level thinking like reading and writing that improve brain health? It's true that education affects lifestyle and life choices, and also education is related to cardiovascular conditions believed to increase the risk of dementia, things like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, obesity, diabetes. These are becoming more common, but they are being treated more aggressively at the same time. Other studies have found similar declines in dementia risk in wealthier nations. This study follows about 20,000 older Americans of all backgrounds in the U.S. So wealth and education definitely have an established relationship. They recognize that a college degree is also associated with other social determinants of good health, like better jobs, higher income levels, less exposure to toxins in the environment. Keep in mind that while the risk of dementia is declining, the number of cases is still expected to rise because the population of older adults is increasing, and it's expected to double by 2050. Other studies show that better treatment and more education may improve brain health despite rising rates of obesity, diabetes, and cardiovascular risks. And other researchers found that underweight individuals, those with a body mass of less than 18.5, are actually more likely to be diagnosed with dementia compared with individuals with a normal BMI. Whereas those who are overweight or obese had an approximately 30% reduction in dementia risk. So there's something that's not fully understood here. If being overweight actually reduces the risk of dementia in a lot of the population, that doesn't make sense, but there's some ideas to think about, and if you have any suggestions or comments, let me know. This is Kevin Kearney. I'll sign off now. Look forward to doing other videos. All right, bye.